Welcome to Bubbler.
Well, hello and welcome to Bubbler Podcast. Bubbler Podcast is committed to providing water cooler conversations to make you the life of the break room and office party. Carrie, how the hell are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's so good to talk to you today. I'm excited.
Very nice to talk to you. You know how perception is, right? You start talking about something, you notice it everywhere. You buy a new car, you see all of a sudden that car, everyone's driving one. You start noticing it, things like that. I have just been seeing all these docuseries and documentaries and specials about cults. But then I thought about it and I'm like, well, there are a lot of cults out there that we still are just hearing about. And as a matter of fact, in the Midwest, there's a story about a former NFL player who was being accused, him and his wife, of abusing their son. And all of a sudden, the son and the family was missing. And sure enough, they found him in some compound in South Bend, Indiana, this church that it sounds like is about to retaliate for the police visiting them there. So cult. You know, I'm not someone that's very susceptible to cults, but I had a near scare. I had an incident where I almost got sort of sucked in. And then I thought, I think I know what cult you would get sucked into if you were going to get sucked into a cult. But I want to know if I'm right. So tell me, Carrie, the cults we know of out there, is there one that would be more likely to fall prey to than any other?
I think if you want to be in a cult, the sky's the limit. Right?
Absolutely.
I think there's just so much out there, and with social media and especially YouTube. I mean, man, what a free for all. Whatever ails you, there's somebody out there who is claiming to be, the next coming or God or whoever. It's just really interesting. I, like you, don't feel like I'm someone who would be super susceptible to a religious cult per se. I'm always on my guard. Maybe that's the New England in me. I always kind of have that wall up. I had a quick encounter with what I considered a religious cult similar. You saying you had one incident. I also had one where I very quickly saw all the signs and made a quick call to my parents because I was a teenager at the time to get me out. Today, what cult could get me? Well, I am fascinated right now with this TikTok dance cult. I don't know if you've seen it. It's on Netflix. This is just amazing to me. And this is something that I would totally get sucked into. Just the fact that I'm going to make dances on TikTok and I'm going to make a lot of money and I'm going to have fun with my friends. And I'm going to have no clue. None at all that it's a cult. I could totally see myself getting sucked into something like that. I don't know what else is out there, but something having to do with increasing my net income.
I can
And
see that. I could see
yeah,
that. And dancing. I mean, you've got an active teenage daughter that's doing all the different things, and
mm-hmm.
you can see a little dance mom in you potentially. Sure. Some of that does border on cultish behavior.
Cheer moms? What are you talking about?
Didn't one of the main coaches in the dance mom reality shows, wasn't she accused of some fishy behavior? I don't think it was quite cultish.
Yeah, she did. She did go to jail. I think it had to do with tax evasion. If you're talking about the Dance Moms, the series, absolutely. And she had some behaviors that were pretty severe. Anything that is televised, I think sometimes, even from a sports perspective, you see coaches and how they act and react. They can have a little leader mentality, right? So that could feel a little cultish, a little cult leader. You're right. I could see us like going somewhere to some cheer camp or something and us getting excited about doing something on YouTube and then finding out too late that we're in a cult. I could totally see that happening. What about you? What cult do you think you would not so carefully join?
So I would call it a brush with getting sucked in due to someone's ideology or what I thought it was until I dug deeper. I recall this. It was probably 2016 or so. I was flipping through Instagram. I'm constantly looking at new meditation practices and things like that. I saw this beautiful post of this woman, and it was just a very basic Zen-like caption,
Mhm.
just talking about breathing and slowing down. I'm like, well, who is this? And her name was Teal Swan. At first, when I saw that, I didn't know if that was a group, if that was the person's name, what it was. But I was immediately sucked into the visuals, and everything was very aesthetically pleasing. And she was talking about keeping it simple, which I'm a big Eckhart Tolle fan. And so it was all about healing and things like that. So I'm like, okay, I'm interested. This seems like someone who I didn't see anything about, merch being sold. There was nothing soliciting my funds. As I dug deep, and it took me a while to dig deep. I'm now following her on Instagram. And then of course I see follow me on YouTube. And then I started watching some of her videos. And then I started to get that vibe, that cult vibe. I don't know. It's like I was gonna make a Jonestown cult joke, but the punchline was too long.
Ha ha
That
ha.
ha ha. It's just something just didn't feel right. That's when I'm like, all right, well, I need to figure out what this is all about before I drink the Kool-Aid, pun intended.
Mm.
That's when I started to realize things were a little weird. Your spidey senses go off, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like with this TikTok cult, 7M, was it management or productions or
Yes.
whatever?
Mhm.
But it was really affiliated with Chicane Church, I think.
I think that's how you say it.
But there's a bigger church that uses that same name. This person's not affiliated with it. This TikTok thing, that this is the Netflix special, right? There's actually
Yeah.
like a docuseries. So tell me a little bit about what you learned about the founder after doing a little bit of deep dive yourself.
What's interesting about that is it took just such a strange turn. Like, how do you go from dancing and producing, having these talented dancers, and that web goes really far out to have that, and then to have some religious leader backing that confused me. I just don't see it going together. Like, it just doesn't fit to me. Like, spiritual wellness, if you're going through trauma, or if there's something you're trying to improve in yourself, that seems to make sense to me, where you would like kind of seek out that, similar to what you were just talking about. It's uplifting, it feels good. But this just seems so literally produced. I find it fascinating that he's kind of gotten a hold of this group of dancers and keeping them in I'll just say a house. I don't know if they're all in one house or what, where they feel like they have to continue to produce these dance videos to this and do what he does.
So I think a lot of our listeners are not going to quite follow it, especially if they haven't seen the special. He's recruiting, when you say these dancers, these are like TikTok, and TikTok is not in my purview. I know my kids are older. You're much more TikTok savvy
Hmm.
than me or most people. I think even our age, but this is just these dancers. It's social. It's like being a social media
Yeah,
influencer
it's an
on
influence. They
anything
were
else.
influencers, exactly what they are.
So
Mhm.
everything's dance driven, correct?
Correct.
So
Well,
all
and
their videos and posts are dance routines and different things.
correct.
They are able to monetize this by followers, endorsement deals, etc.
Yes, correct. And that's the part that just kind of threw me off is, you're managing, different people through this platform of content. And most of them were content creators to begin with. They went into this management company to make more money. And I don't know that they confirmed this in the documentary or not, but I imagine, they're getting a percentage, right? To have a religious background to all of this is fascinating to me. But what he's doing is he's using the cult tactics to keep them there so he continues to make money. His whole drive right now is wealth. And I'm sure there's some control in other pieces. When you think of like the big ones, the Scientologies and that kind of thing, there's obviously monetary gains there, right? For the church or for the cult. But this one just seemed very different to me, which is why I think this is a cult that I would get myself caught up in because it didn't make any sense to me. Wasn't traditional.
It wasn't a traditional cult that got me.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
that is the thing. So ultimately, what are these cults? They're scams. And what does scams have to do? Scams
Yep.
have to utilize and keep up with the most recent technology because you've got to have something you're holding over the cult members'
Right.
heads. It's got to be something beyond their understanding.
Well, and that's exactly it. That's why aliens or a higher ascension to me is not something that you're going to hook me in. I'm good. I'm centered. I'm solid. I don't need to go to the next level, you know?
No,
Um,
but you're right. Like, so Scientology's not gonna hook Carrie.
no.
So as you're telling me this, and I'm thinking of all the other cult docs and everything I've watched, well, this really isn't that different because all of the bigger cults, the cult leader assigned work and task that ultimately generated income
Hmm.
for the quote unquote, organization when it was really, it always goes back to the cult leader, right? Whether it's
Yeah.
to build a bigger house, to build a compound so they can live their dream of having everyone live in the compound, whatever it is. Some of the old cults used to just have people beg. Some of them sold trinkets and different things. But if you
Hmm.
really, they would go door to door and make money, where now you've got these influencers. They are under the guise of a production company. They're now getting sucked into this cult and they're generating probably more money than any of these old methods
Yep.
by sponsorship deals. And I didn't even know like there was influencer management, but it makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can dance. That doesn't mean I know who to reach out to get a Adidas deal or whatever it is. I guess the typical percentage is 20%. And that's what this person, Robert Shin, who then you find out he's a pastor and it is a church.
Hmm.
He's even done this before. He's getting his 20%. Then all of a sudden, all the other stuff makes sense. It's all cult stuff, living under the same house. They can keep an eye on him. Then he's got them active in his church now. This is where he gets the hungry artist because that's what cults always look for. They look for someone that's either struggling financially or struggling artist, someone that's suffered a recent loss, someone
Hmm.
that's in a stressful situation like a new student or whatever. And so he's found these not quite struggling. All these dancers had over 1 million followers, I think, when
Yep.
they started with him. But then all of a sudden they have management, they have production deals. They're living in a really nice house in LA. He is doing everything he said he's going to do, which is get them more hits, follows, sponsorships. But then he does what all cult leaders do. They start holding on to more and more of the money. Oh, well, don't forget your 10% tithing to the
Right.
church.
Right.
Well, you're an elder member of the church. Tack on another 10%, right? And
Yep.
he knows exactly what's coming in because
Hmm.
he's the manager. So they can't lie about what 10% or the additional 10% or the next 10%. He knows what the dollars are.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting too because you and I, once we figure out it's a cult, like I'm thinking we want out, right? And we want to try and figure out how to get out. If you were caught up, especially monetary, because that's scary. When all your eggs are literally in one basket, maybe you've been cut off for a long time from your family and you didn't even realize it happened. And then you're thinking, well, how the hell am I supposed to get out of this? What's your plan? How do you get out?
I think my warning signals would go off the second I'm not in control of my money. Let's talk about the warning signs, and then
Okay.
I'll go back to my true story, which is still cult adjacent, we'll call it. There's actually a cult education institute, which I would have jokes if I hadn't been reading about all these different cults, right?
Right.
And this cult education institute says, here's 10 warning signs that let's make it a little 10 warning signs that you might be in a cult. Number one, there's no accountability, but this individual has complete control and authority. This same person, number two, has zero tolerance for criticisms or questions. So right there, I'm going, hey, wait a minute. I want to see my pre your cut statement on this new sponsorship deal. No, you don't need to see that. But then that jumps right into number three, lack of meaningful financial disclosure regarding budget.
Yeah.
Number four, unreasonable fears about the outside world that often involve evil conspiracies and persecution. As the things come to light, and I know this was part of your guys' deal, he started going on about rants and everyone's out to get us and I'm not scared.
Which is
Eh,
surprising to me because these are content creators who are on social media. So it's not like you don't see more things. Like when you hear about cults who shield and don't allow social media, don't allow books, only allow certain books, there is that control of what they're consuming. And to have actual content creators who have the ability at any moment to look at anything is wild to me. So that's just super interesting.
Well,
The
you've
way
got,
that
yeah, I mean, you've got to really be able to hook them in. With them, though, what does any artist, whether you're an actor or a dancer, you just want to be able to do this for a living and not have to have another job. Right? Well, he
absolutely.
gave
Mhm.
them that, and then he tied it in with them going to church because he said, "The more you do with this church, you are going to reap the benefits. The things I promised you will happen." They're in a mansion in LA that they could never afford. They're
Right.
getting nice things. They're getting whatever the stipend is. I think he was very savvy about how to reel them in. I'll read these off real quick. Number five, a belief that former followers are always wrong for leaving and there's never a legitimate reason for anyone else to leave. Well, why would
Mhm.
you ever leave? You have food, you have a beautiful house, you're now up to 2 million followers. Number six is abuse of members. Number seven, records, books, articles, or programs documenting the abuses of the leader or group. So you see this former members of your production company, 7M Management, or your
Mhm.
church are leaving and saying how bad it was. And then at the same time, the person that's writing your checks is telling you they weren't going to service enough. They didn't
Right.
truly believe to, refute these accusations. These are the interesting ones. These are the ones that I think this is just it. Number eight, followers feeling they are never able to be good enough. So the cult
Mm.
leader's narcissism, it's all about me. The other person is doing more to build a relationship with me than you are. You're never doing enough. So that way you're always in defense mode. You're always in catch-up mode. I've got to do this. Got to be better than so and so who's doing more than me. Number nine, a belief that the leader is right at all times. I think that's where they typically trip up and get caught. And then
Yeah.
number 10, a belief that the leader is the exclusive means of knowing quote unquote truth or giving validation. I am the answer. I am the path. Listening to me is going to make you happy and successful. What's crazy to me that what's not on this list, every cult, every large cult, I hate to say successful cult, that's
Yeah. No.
oxymoron or whatever,
Yeah.
but it's always about getting you separated from friends and family, the people
Always.
that can point these things out to you, right?
Yep.
I did find it fascinating. Pastor Robert Shen, who's the leader of all this, and so he gets him really involved in the church. And then he makes the church even more special because it's an invite only to certain services. So you're an elder, you're privileged to get to go. He's challenging their faith constantly, and you don't believe enough. You don't do this. Your family's the reason you don't have faith you needed when you met me. Now you do because of me. Blows my mind he did this and pulled it off,
Yep.
but this is how he reeled him in. You're going to go to heaven because you're following me and doing the right things. Your family members can go to heaven even if they don't follow me by your sacrifice. And your sacrifice is making yourself dead to them,
Yep.
then they can join you in heaven later because you're making the ultimate sacrifice of both socially, spiritually, as well as symbolically dying for your family members and their
Mhm.
salvation. No pressure there.
I know. Well, and I think that's exactly where you start losing me, right? Like all of that. Like absolutely not. Like absolutely not. Spidey senses, like you were saying, with the money. once we're starting to talk about withholding money or not telling me where things are, and then you start telling me I can't talk to my family, I'm out. Hopefully that happens before they ever ask me to shave my head, because I'll tell you right now, that's never happening. So
You're not shaving your head?
no, no, I don't care. I don't know, not happening. That would be the first. That would be easy. I would just leave. That would that's how I get out of that cult. I literally just walk out the door. Yeah, I think, and I don't know why. I mean, maybe for whatever reason we have either been raised or just gone through life, certain reasons why, we hold, and we're both pretty controlling people, I think, too. So I prefer to be in control. I need to know what's happening. I want to know what my next thing is, what I'm doing. I like to be the leader. Maybe, oh my God, I just figured it out. We're cult leaders. That's
I
it.
have let go of my controlling ways for the most part. I just don't I hold myself accountable for my own actions, and that's about it. I used to be a control freak. I can't do it anymore. It was too exhausting. It is sometimes though, the people that are hyper aware of this type of thing
Yeah.
is maybe we do fly a little close to the sun at times
Uh-huh.
but then yeah, yikes. It's like theater of the absurd, right? Then all of a sudden he's starting to tell people to have contact with your family, even though we told them earlier that they were committing this great sacrifice for the well-being of their family. But now he's doing damage control as stories are getting out. That's when people kind of, some of them started leaving, and then some got sucked in even further. As I'm doing my research on Teal Swan, what's the history of this person? Once again, you can't unsee it once you see it. Hers was everything was trauma based, and it was because she was supposedly had faced this just terrible abuse as a child. And I'm like, oh no, well, this maybe, she knows how to heal. And then I find the line where she believes she's half alien.
Yes. Yes.
Wah, wah.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
the half alien part, and then I'm looking and I started looking at her intense focus on trauma. She believes almost all your problems are based on traumas that you maybe have hidden, that are deep into your subconscious. And you remember these psychiatrists that brought up all these repressed feelings, and all of a
Yes.
sudden there were all these false accusations of abuse and these lawsuits and people wrongfully convicted for
Yeah.
crimes they didn't
Wrongfully.
commit.
Hmm.
Not only is that kind of her mantra, it's all about finding your suppressed trauma and healing. Everything is about it. And so she has this quote: don't ask people what is wrong with them, ask them what happened to them. Oh my gosh, that is so, I'm not gonna generational shame, because you can say something about every generation, but, everyone points out that there are some generations that are, "Oh, I'm a victim," and I'm just like, "There's no I'm not the cause of my problems," and I'm
Right.
like, "That's what she's preying on." It's
Hmm.
the nothing's my fault. I'm a victim even if I don't know what I was victimized by or who did it? And then
Yep.
I'm just like, wah, wah, wah. Then I dug deeper, and this is what got her in trouble and got her some media attention. She has everyone go through her bits, the completion process. And so in a controlled environment, you revisit your trauma so you can take it head on and own it, which there are some parts of real therapy that are like that, but it's very dangerous when you're
Hmm.
unskilled in and not really educated in psychology or psychiatry. And because there's a lot to learn, because there's these common pitfalls and things you have to avoid, and she avoids none of them. One of them is the fact that she's like, hey, if you try all this stuff and you pay to go through my completion process course and it doesn't work, well, if you decide that you're still unhappy and you want to kill yourself, it's okay. We're all reincarnated. You're just hitting the reset button.
No, I heard that. That's wild. Can you imagine?
So her out is, well, the process didn't work for you.
Try
Do what you want to
again.
do. But if
Mm.
you want to try again by killing yourself, no one can blame you. You've done everything you can. Holy shit. Talk about
Yeah.
not having ex members around to talk shit about you. No, because
right?
they all committed suicide. So she covered her bases there. And I joke, but I don't joke. That is scary stuff to realize that someone's come up with their own out is you taking the final and worst out. How in the hell would you leave the TikTok dance club religious cult?
I think I would reach out to my family and ask for help is what I would end up doing if I could. Maybe I just take on the leader, Mick. I just take him on and I shut it down. I don't know.
I'm with you, and this is by we're definitely not judging the people that didn't get
Oh,
out
no,
of
not at
different
all.
cults
No.
because they were preyed upon.
Yeah.
Most of them were, in fact, some sort of victims or suffering some sort of loss. There's nothing even slightly humorous about people preying on people that are going through tough times. There are people that do that in all forms. They've done it as far as investment schemes, telemarketing schemes that are
Oh,
hitting the elderly today.
the multi-level marketing, that is very cult-like. The Lulu Rose and those get crazy when you start doing those pyramid schemes. They're very cult-like, in my opinion.
Those last couple warning signs of a cult, they you're never good enough. So and so's outselling you, has more
Mhm.
people under them in the pyramid, whatever it is. That the leader, the person that's coaching you, who's so successful in it, because they're at the top of the pyramid, that they're right at all times. That's 8, 9 together right there. And then, of course, this leader who's successful, they obviously know the truth to success, and they're the ones giving validation and handing out their little pyramid scheme awards and celebrating you on their Facebook page or whatever it
Mhm.
is. Cult, cult, cult. And with that being said, I do think we are both victims of the cult of capitalism. I don't
Yes,
know about you, but I've got some reports I need to knock out and get back to work before I get up on the bench for Mick Makes a Call. Always a pleasure.
always.
All rise.
It's time for Mick Makes the Call.
You may be seated. All right, Carrie, let's hear the case you have for us today.
It's time. I've been traveling a lot lately and I've been flying quite a bit. One of the things that I've seen quite often, and it's on social media a lot, is the windows on the planes. Do you put them up when you take off? Do you put them down? Do you keep them up when you're landing? That is a hot topic. So some people feel very strongly that when you take off and when you land, those shades should be up. So, what happens if you are sitting in a seat and half of the window is mine and half the window is the person behind me? I have seen this happen so many times. The person who's sitting in the front lifts it up, and the person behind them pushes it back down. I just want to know, Mick. So, tell me who's in the right here.
Let me preface this by saying everything you just described is why I fly private. But I digress.
Sure.
First off, if it is still dark outside, if you're on a 6 a.m. flight, if you're the guy that pulls the window up, you're a dick. Okay.
Yeah.
We don't want your one window of light in. I'm sorry if you've never been on an airplane. When the sun comes up and it's light out, you can pull up your window and look out like every other well mannered human being, you dick. That's for the people that think you should have it up in the morning. I would say honestly,
What
keep it
about a
down.
takeoff, though? What about a
That
takeoff?
if it is early morning, people are trying to sleep, keep your window down. End of story. That's it. Now, the other thing is sometimes, and I know you're in Texas, sometimes the window should stay down until the plane is in the air, as far as keeping the plane cool, letting the AC kick in, because a lot of times those cheap bastards aren't running it while you're just sitting there and boarding. It's hot.
It
You're
is
in
hot.
Dallas. My God, keep the sun out of the plane. It's already too fucking hot in here. And I made the mistake of wearing a shirt where you can see my pit stains. Damn it. Now, taking those rules out of play, dealing specifically with the awkward window. If the person has access to a second window, sometimes where that lies, if it's lined up with the back of the chair, you each still have another window. That one I think typically should just stay down unless someone like is letting their kid look out it or whatever. The other thing is when I mentioned manners, if I want to have it up just because I want to look out, but you have a video on for your kid on their iPad or whatever it is, and the kid can't see it, the shade should be down. If someone's trying to watch a movie, if two people are both tuned into the same movie with their earbuds, take into consideration that the window up is messing with the shade. Other than that, I can't think of a reason not to just keep the window up. If it's not hot, if it's not ungodly early in the morning, if your kid can see their screen or whatever, just keep it up. I think the person that wants it up should typically win. If it's 2 p.m. and you want it down because you're trying to sleep, you're a dick. It's 2 p.m. The other person wants to see outside. Maybe they've only been up in a plane once in their entire life, or they only fly once or twice a year, and you're the person that flies at least once a month, every other week. Take the other person into consideration. Look at who the person is. Do they look like someone that travels frequently? Do they look like this is a big deal to them to be on a plane? Read the room, look at faces. Just let the other person enjoy something that is a rare experience for them. That's my ruling.
Seems like a simple plan right there. Don't be a dick.
There you go. Ruling is in favor of common courtesy. Court is adjourned.